Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank my colleague Ben Ray Lujan from the great state of New Mexico. And I also want to thank the gentleman from New Mexico's 1st District, Congressman Martin Heinrich, for helping to arrange this tribute to one of New Mexico's greatest citizens. Bruce King is without a doubt a New Mexico legend. If you never got a chance to meet him, then all I can tell you is that you missed an opportunity to meet someone who really was a dedicated public servant and a good man. And many of us that are public servants in New Mexico today have learned from his example. One thing I learned from Bruce King was how important it is to stay in touch with the people that you represent. In fact, I first met Governor King in the steer barn at the Lee County Fair. And over the years, it seemed that you would run across the governor shaking hands at nearly every fair in New Mexico. Bruce King was New Mexico. A lot of people described him as the cowboy governor, and that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for Bruce King, it meant that his heart was as big as our skies. It meant that his handshake was as good as his word. It meant the only way he knew how to work was hard. It meant his family and the people he represented always came first, and that he was willing to look out for their needs. It meant that when he had to make tough choices, he stuck by them, even when that meant that he had to make sacrifices. It also meant that he led by example. During one of his terms as governor, Bruce King had to contend with an energy crisis like the rest of the country. He didn't just tell New Mexicans that they had to save energy. He showed them by trading in his motorcade for a horse. For a while, Bruce would actually ride his horse from the governor's mansion to the in Santa Fe to the state capitol as a way of showing folks that he was willing to do his part. You know, when I ran for Congress, I kept telling voters that I was running to put New Mexico families first in everything that I did. Governor King did that when he created the Children, Youth, and Families Department in New Mexico that looks after the well-being of our children and our loved ones. He put New Mexico families first because in a lot of ways, the people of New Mexico are his family. He put the education of our kids first when he changed the way we fund our schools back home. In too many states, wealthy neighborhoods have the best schools, while poor rural areas or inner city schools have to scramble for funds every year because their families are poor. Governor King changed that. He made sure that every single child in New Mexico got a shot at an education when he made sure that all money for education was doled out equally for every school district. He knew that one child's education was not more important than another's, and countless New Mexicans have benefited from that change. In a recent interview, Bruce told a story about how he started making a few people angry on the Santa Fe County Commission when he, as a first-term commissioner, kept pushing the county employees to get roads paved faster. He remembered that one person took him aside and said, "Bruce, you're new here, and you don't know how things are done." He just smiled and told him, "I understand the way things are done. The people pay their taxes on time, and they expect us to do our work on time. That's how it's done." Governor King's service to our nation and our state should never be forgotten. As a county commissioner, Speaker of the House, and as governor, he was one of those unique public officials who never forgot where he came from. He listened sincerely to the needs and concerns of his constituents, and then he got to work addressing those issues because he cared deeply about the state of New Mexico. He showed the rest of the country what it meant to be a New Mexican. He brought out the best in all of us. That's probably why so many of his political rivals became friends of his afterwards. For so many years, Bruce King was ours. Now, the cowboy governor's ridden off into the sunset one last time, and he will be missed. Thank you, and I yield back.